I used to be just like you. America is evil. AFRICOM is evil. Michael Langley is evil. All they want to do is exploit African countries so that they can take their resources, make America richer, and leave Africa in the dust. The same way things went in the past. I used to be just like you. But then I did something that you have probably never done. And if you've done it, I know that you are being very disingenuous when it comes to America, or specifically AFRICOM's interaction with the African continent and the governments of the countries in Africa. You're telling me that AFRICOM is evil. I'm telling you that I have personally experienced the benefit of AFRICOM on the African continent. You're telling me that that AFRICOM is evil. I am telling you that the people of Africa, in the countries where AFRICOM is actively combating terrorists, where AFRICOM is training African militaries on anti-terrorism strategy. The people in those countries, they love and appreciate AFRICOM because AFRICOM and America provide those countries with the training and tools that they need to have stability, security, and ultimately prosperity. I'm going to use Kenya as an example because that is a country where I spend the majority of my time. In 2008, following the George Bush administration, AFRICOM was sent into the country of Kenya. Prior to 2008, Kenya was a country that suffered from many terrorist attacks. You had Somali terrorists on the border. You even had, I think it's called Al-Shabaab. I think it's Al-Shabaab, one of those, actively operating within the boundaries of Kenya. Kenya couldn't grow as a country. Election violence was rampant. There were terrorist attacks frequently. The people of Kenya didn't feel safe. Companies didn't feel comfortable investing in Kenya. And the country was not growing economically. Enter AFRICOM. From the time AFRICOM has entered into Kenya, a U.S. base was established in Kenya, and the Kenyan government started working directly with United States anti-terrorism forces to secure their country and to combat and eradicate terrorism within their borders. Since 2008, when this happened, the country of Kenya has experienced an economic renaissance. For the past 20 years, Kenya has experienced an average GDP growth of 5%. Do you understand how big a GDP growth of 5% is? I'll give you a comparison. If the United States economy grows by 2%, the economists are celebrating, because that is major growth in the U.S. economy. For the Kenyan GDP to increase by 5% since they secured a security deal with AFRICOM in the United States, that is incredible. I remember several years back, about 15 years back, there was a huge terrorist attack in a mall in Kenya. Hundreds of people died. It was a stain on the history of the country. Since AFRICOM started working with the Kenyan government, you don't even hear about terrorist attacks in Kenya. I personally have talked to Kenyan politicians. I have personally talked to Kenyan MPs, Kenyan police officers, Kenyan lawyers, Kenyan real estate developers, and Kenyan citizens. I've asked them how they feel about America, how they feel about AFRICOM, and how they feel about Kenya without America working with them to help stabilize the country and combat terrorism. Every single person I've talked to who lives in Kenya, not the guy living in the UK who's comfortable, he's safe, so he doesn't really care if Kenya is safe or not. Not the guy or woman living in America, where we are right now, who's safe under the protection of the American government, so they don't care about the danger that is present on the African continent because it doesn't affect them. I talk to people who live in Kenya, and they praised AFRICOM. One guy, my friend Fred Omundi, he's a lawyer. He said, look, AFRICOM not only trains Kenyan soldiers on how to protect Kenyan people from terrorist threats. He said AFRICOM holds the Kenyan government accountable and ensures that the government is not in collusion with the interest of radical Islamists or any terrorist group that is on the continent right now. When you start talking to the people on the ground in Africa, the people, not the people just showing up because they saw videos on the internet, people who have really lived in these countries for their entire life, people doing business in these countries, people working jobs in these countries, and people aspiring to make a life in these countries. The sentiments are completely different from the hypocritical people who demonize the West while living in the West. They demonize the West while taking advantage of the unique opportunities that are presented in the West. I'm not asking you to trust America. I'm not asking you to trust the West. I'm asking you to use your brain. Use this. I'm asking you to not just sit on the internet and engage with Africa like it's some type of far off, mysterious jungle. Buy a ticket. Get on a plane. Fly down to Africa. Any country. Talk to the people. Ask them what they want. Then use that information to formulate your opinion on what is good and what is bad. Because what I know is China, Russia, America, listen, they're all imperialist cultures. They're all imperialist governments. None of these people are operating with Africa based on altruism or in an altruistic way. Anybody, everybody who does anything that is good or bad is operating in their own best interest. There's nothing wrong with that. It seems to me that many of these people who are on the internet are living in a fantasy land. They're detached from reality. They want countries, right? Countries, governments to operate with each other in a emotional way. Like a government can't take on the characteristics or operate like a individual person. They don't operate based on affection or sentiment, right? Like emotions. They operate based on interest. That's the way they operate, and that's the way they should operate. It's crazy to me when people are like, America doesn't care about Africa. Is it America's job to care about Africa? Or is it America's job to see how they can work with Africa to further American interest? Just like it's Africa's job to see how they can work with America, China, Russia, Singapore, India, or any other country to further their interest. I see a lot of immaturity in this Pan-African space. I see a lot of deception in this Pan-African space. I see a lot of misinformation and rushing to judgment in this Pan-African space. And I'm telling you, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. African people are not children. They're not babies. They're grown adults with fully functioning countries and governments, with leaders that they've elected who are not dumb and ignorant, who are highly educated and capable. I trust these leaders to lead their countries. And and more importantly, the people who vote for these leaders have been entrusted to lead their country by the people of that country. If you don't like William Ruto, that's your problem. The people of Kenya voted William Ruto in, and they will vote William Ruto out if they see fit. You don't like Cyril Ramaphosa, doesn't matter. The people of South Africa voted Cyril Ramaphosa in, and if they see fit, they'll vote him out. You don't like Tinubu in Nigeria, doesn't matter. The people of Nigeria voted Tinubu in, and if they see fit, they will vote him out. Stop acting like know-it-alls. We have to stop. The black people who act like they know us, the black Americans specifically, and the Western living Africans who act like they got it all figured out and they know what's best for Africa and they got some unique information or perspective that no one else has. All you're doing is acting just like the white man that you claim to hate. For decades, you criticized the white man for stripping Africa of its autonomy. Now, when the African countries are operating in autonomy and they're choosing to do business with America or choosing to do business with China or Russia, guess what? We don't like that because we got a chip on our shoulder against these countries for one reason or another. And so now we want to strip them of their autonomy and we want to be in control and do what we individually think is best, totally disregarding what the people who actually have to live under these governments think. It's just sick. It's just sad. It's just pathetic. I'm not writing off the United States. I'm not writing off AFRICOM. And most importantly, I'm not writing off the African people. I believe it's 2025. We have an unprecedented access to technology. We have the power to communicate with each other across oceans within seconds. I think it's on us. It's our job to be good stewards. It's our job to be good stewards of Africa. Not only Africa, of any country where Black people exist in significant numbers. We have to wait and see, in my opinion. But in order to wait and see, you have to watch. You have to pay attention. You have to be patient, and you have to prepare yourself so that if something bad does happen, or we do catch wind of some abuses, we will be in a position to where we can move swiftly to affect change in the best interest of Africa. Bruh, you ain't even got a passport. You ain't even got a passport. And you talking about what Africa needs to do and what they don't need to do. You ain't even got $1,000 in your bank account. But you're telling multimillionaires in countries with billion-dollar, trillion-dollar GDPs what they need to do. You're not really qualified. I'm not qualified. That's why you don't see me rushing to judgment. What I'm qualified to do, I'm qualified to wait and see. And if something ain't right or something smells funny, I'm qualified to use the power I do have, this YouTube channel, this reach on social media, to spread awareness and sue for change. Let's relax a little bit. Let's trust our African brothers and sisters to manage affairs in their country. Let's trust these governments to facilitate or to create connections with each other that facilitate prosperity and growth and peace. I don't think it's as bad as you think. I think the world is going global. You have millions of African Americans and people from all over the world currently living in African countries. I highly doubt that any of these countries, China, America, Russia, I highly doubt that any of these countries are on a path where they want to see African countries fall. Because I believe that the development of Africa is in the best interest of all these countries. China wants to put factories there. They need the country to develop. They need roads and all that for to be able to sustain or maintain any type of production. America, they want to build factories there. They want access to the African markets. So they need these countries to develop to facilitate American access to these markets. America wants to combat China, and it's a war of influence. That ain't necessarily a bad thing. Because I'll tell you, remember Iran? Remember the Shah of Iran? When America helped him because they wanted to combat radical Islamic influence in Iran? Iran emerged as one of the premier economies of the world. It wasn't until the Shah started talking trash and disparaging America or like basically disparaging Western countries, and the Western countries said, all right, man, do it yourself, that Iran fell to radical Islamists, and they ended up in the situation they are currently in today. All I'm telling you is, you have more power than you think. We have more power than we think. as black people globally? Are we going to sit on our butts and do absolutely nothing? Or are we going to get up and put in the work to build our economic infrastructure and build a bridge between Africa and and the diaspora, no matter where it exists? So if we find out that these people are indeed bad actors, we are able to step in and check them. We're able to step in and intercede and say, wait a minute, you're not doing us like that, and you're not doing them like that, because they are us and we are them. Are we going to do the work necessary? Or are we going to just keep complaining about every single freaking thing? You can't keep complaining about what everyone else is doing if you're not doing anything. You can't complain about China and America fighting for influence in Africa. That's what they're supposed to do. And at the same time, Africa, Black America, Black Brits, the Jamaicans, the Caribbeans, the Black South Americans, we should be fighting to gain influence over the entire globe. There's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not going to act like there is. Thank you for watching this. I appreciate everything you do. Till the next time, peace.